Hey, hey, hey. I think I lost Ashlyn's camera. Nope, it's there. There it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Phenomenal STEMist. Welcome to Phenomenal STEMist. I see a couple of you. I want to know who's watching. I know one of them is my mother. and
Hey,
the
Miss
other one,
Byfield.
and the other one may be yours. Oh, hey, everyone. Before I get into Phenomenal STEMist, welcome to Phenomenal STEMist. I want to do a little homework here. Remember, my book, The Phenomenal STEMist, is available on Amazon right now, amazon.com. Be sure to get it, pick it up for people who you want to become just like me or my guest, Deidre Caleb. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that she's here today. Always remember, please subscribe. I'm really on a kick, or on a, how do I say, in a movement to increase my subscriptions to Phenomenal STEMist on YouTube, Dr. Maya Bifel. So follow me there, of course. And lastly, please educate your children in STEM. You could do that. Go to www.phenomenalstemist.com. My guest today is Deidre A. Caleb. Is it M.A. Caleb, just like your sister, maybe? Or it's just
No,
A? Okay.
it's just a.
Okay. Elisa from Pennsylvania. My daughter wants to go into forensics. Hi, Elisa. Thanks so much for coming and coming in and seeing. And hopefully, this interview will, give your daughter some inspiration and some great ideas on how to be successful in STEM, specifically to become a forensic scientist. All right. And of course, my mother. My mother is here. Hey. I know this young lady from when I was talking about how I remember her when she was just in elementary school, maybe 5 years old. I met her. I'm really, really close friends with her sister, and very, very proud of her. And I'm not gonna insult her by just acting like I'm just so much older than her. She is a colleague in STEM. Deidre Caleb is coming to us from Oakwood University, where she received her bachelor's in biochemistry. All right, bachelor's of science in biochemistry, and then she's from New York, and she moved back home to New York, and went to Pace University and got her master's in science in forensic science. And that's her educational background. I'm going to get more into how she got to where she is. And my first question is, when did you fall in love with your discipline? Thanks so much, Deidre.
So hey everybody, it's good to be here. Maya and I go way back. I know, right?
She's not a baby mother. She is a grown woman,
Look,
forensic scientist. Okay, let's get it together.
look. I'm always known as the baby, and I'm just okay. Fine, it's what it is. Um, so I actually fell in love with chemistry before I fell in love with the career because I didn't know what the career was. Um, so it was my junior year of high school. I went to NEA as well.
So
And
NEA stands for Northeastern Academy. I went to high
yes,
school there.
class of 2005. But I don't care. But I failed a chemistry quiz, and that was the one class I was not doing well in. Even though I kind of like science, it wasn't, nothing stuck to me. No, science didn't really stick to me, but this was the science that started sticking to me, was the chemistry. No, but biology was too hard. I was just like, ugh, whatever. Um, but I failed the quiz and I cried so hard. And at that point, I vowed that would be the last time I failed a quiz in junior, in high school chemistry, and that was the last time I failed a quiz. And then I started, because I started flipping through the chemistry book, I started, getting curious about things. So you can be like, well, high school junior would know about electronegativity, you know, and it wasn't like she was teaching us that. But, you know, we had to, I wish I had my periodic table from high school. I still keep it because it's a reminder. Um, I got it and I colored it in so many different colors. I started writing down the trends and just really getting into it. And something happened where the teacher made us take the chemistry regents and I passed it and I was like, huh? Okay. But that's the first part of it. So when I fell in love with forensic science actually is I started watching TV a lot and I sat down and this show caught my attention. I was like, what is this? And everybody looked attractive and everything, you know how TV, you know, promotes you know, physical appearance and everything. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And they started connecting a crime to this person and they use science. And I started getting in, I started looking at the science that how they were connecting the two. And that's what forensic science is. Forensic science connects a crime to a person through science. And I'm just
Mm.
like, okay, cool. So that's so that show was called CSI Miami. And Monday nights at 10 o'clock, I'm in front of the TV watching CSI Miami. And of course, they would have, you know, what the DA stands for, the district attorney, or what the defense attorney is doing. So I was just like, okay. And then I started watching all of the Law and Orders and started realizing, okay, there's the investigative side, and then there's the more judicial side where things happen in court. And how does this evidence link to this case? And I just started watching a lot of TV. And mind you, I didn't have cable. We were at a private Adventist school, so we didn't have the funds, you know. So this is where I started like really liking this, and I was like, I want to do that when I grow up.
Wow.
And I was already aware that TV is not real life, and that's the part they don't show you is how one gets there.
Right.
So it was junior year high school chemistry. That's when I was like, this is it.
I love how it started through failure though. A lot of people would have taken a chemistry class. First of all, for chemistry to be more you like easier than bio, that's amazing to me. I just always felt biology was way easier than chemistry. I love them both. But a lot of people give up on chemistry. A lot of people give up on math. They're like, it's too hard. And then if they
Yeah.
fail, they're like, okay, this is not for me. So for
Hmm.
you to say, you know what, this is what I want to do. And in spite me failing, I'm going to find ways and be diligent in my study. Like open
Hmm.
up the chemistry book,
Hmm.
start investigating the periodic table. Like it's going to take work. If you want to be
And
a scientist, you're going to have to be
yeah.
diligent in your
Hmm.
study. That's like step
Yep.
one, but to fail a test and still wanna come back, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was I think that was probably like the first time I had seen a failing grade.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm not saying Adventist education is easy, but you know, like you figure out how to get around and you just like, okay, I got it. But that at that point was probably the hardest class. And that was probably the only class I really studied for in high school. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay.
Right.
But we went to college days the next year, my senior year, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a chemistry major, and that was it. And then
Wow.
when I
Awesome.
got there, I switched. But
Not really, because chemistry, biochemistry, almost the
yeah.
same thing, especially at our institution, Oakwood University. Now, you said something about chemistry reasons. Now, I remember I got a Regents diploma.
Hmm.
So just to let people know, because not everybody's from New York, right? So
Right,
in
right.
New York, there's a standardized test. Well, there's two standardized tests. There's a standardized test to graduate. It's called the RCT, and then there's a standardized test that it's a series of standardized tests
Hmm.
called the RCT, or a series of standardized tests called the Regents. The Regents is the higher level tests with multiple subjects, like a Regents in Global Studies, a Regents in English, a Regents test
Hmm.
in biology, a Regents test in chemistry. And if you get
Hmm.
9, I think there are about 14 or so tests, and
Yeah, about 9.
if you pass 9 of them,
Hmm.
different subjects, you get to go to any university in the state. You're competitive. And so the hardest I passed, you know, the the biology and the English, I passed the global studies ones, but I struggled with sequential 3 and 2 math and chemistry. I was afraid I wouldn't pass them. And
Mhm.
I never forget, my high school teacher called me the night I took the Regents chemistry test and I passed. And guess what I passed with? Passed with a 66. Like, yeah, it don't matter. It don't matter what you pass with. The point is, I got a Regents diploma, and I could have gone to any. I got accepted to Stony Brook
Mhm.
University, which is one of the top universities in the school, but it didn't matter. I still go to Oakwood, but the fact that your teacher pushed you to take that very difficult test, that's a very
Mhm.
difficult chemistry test. And so I'm
Mhm.
glad that you got pushed in chemistry. And so you fell in love with chemistry first and then watching a bunch of shows. Now, who says TV is bad? Like, apparently TV has something good. There are a lot of people who became lawyers because of Claire
Mhm.
Huxtable, right? There are a lot of people
Mhm.
that went to historically black colleges and universities because of a different world. Like,
Mhm.
TV can be a motivating factor, it seems.
Yeah, I passed with a 65, so it's a
Eh,
pass is a pass. I
yeah,
was supposed to get it. I'm not sure what happened, but I don't care.
yeah.
That's high school. It's done and over with. But
If
it
I
was
if I could pick up I would show you this. It's my number one high diploma. I have a bunch of
wow,
diplomas on my wall.
wow.
I don't wanna
Um,
move my screen. Let me do that. Let me do that. There's a bunch of
yeah,
diplomas on my
I
wall,
see it. Yeah, nice,
and the one that
nice.
matters the most is the Regents to me. That's the one that matters the most above
Yeah.
all the masters, bachelors, PhD. The high school diploma is the number one
Hmm.
certificate, I really believe, that can get people out of poverty. If you don't graduate from high school, you're in poverty for sure.
Yeah, and you. It's funny because I watched. I did grow up watching A Different World and all those shows, and I fell in love with them. It's just like that's my culture. It was just great. But I'm sorry, I got to give a lot of credit, one to God, but two to the people who I saw grow up. That
Mhm.
includes you and Jonice and Toya, like y'all whole class.
Wow.
you know, everybody is, especially with that Regents exam. I was looking at books from when you guys took it. Because those were the books I had in my house. So even though things I may not have had up to date current things, but those things still applied. So I didn't understand a lot of it, but I used that. So I watched you and Jonice go to Northeastern. I went to Northeastern. That's that family and Christian education is a whole separate thing. But I didn't watch A Different World for that. I watched you guys. you
Wow,
know,
wow.
you went to Northeastern. I went to Northeastern. You went to Oakwood. I went to Oakwood. It's like, okay, Janice is getting this and Janice is doing that.
Jonice is her
And
big sister, just to let you know, just to
yeah,
remind you
she
guys.
she is. She is. She is. And she keeps
Mhm.
all of us in line. I'm number 5. But it's like the people that you surround yourself with, if they're constantly setting a higher standard, no one's telling me to go, hey, how no one's telling me, hey, how can you hit this? I'm looking, can I hit this? You know,
Mm,
and then it's also looking at, am I okay with where I am? Because yes, their goal, like your goal was a PhD. And I was like, okay, that's good for her, but I'm good. but
right.
I'm good with where I am. I love once I started doing my master's program, like that got me into it. My internship was with the Drug Enforcement Administration, and I was just a student, so I'm not talking on behalf of nobody, no
Mhm,
agency, no nothing, just me. Make sure I say
mhm,
that.
mhm, mhm.
But once I started seeing, really understanding and seeing how things worked, I was just like, man, this is so cool. But even at Oakwood, like your mom just put Christian education, little old NEA, little old Oakwood. And I'm putting those in quotation marks because we're not little. We're not little at all. The stuff I learned at Oakwood for my chemistry classes and in the instrumentation, I'm doing that now.
Mhm.
And the one thing I want to do after like professionally is get a certification in drug controlled substance analysis with the American Board of Criminalistics. So I'm going to talk about that
Mhm.
forensic science stuff in a little bit because if your daughter's interested in it, I don't know how old she is, but there are definitely resources out there, and it's not a lot. You Man, I really wish I was. I mean, we're connected to God because that's the only person that got me here. So it's just it was a really good interesting path. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, thought I wanted to go to pharmacy school. I looked in every field of science. I just knew I wanted to be a scientist. I just didn't know what kind of
Right.
scientist.
Yeah.
And
And the path led you there, it
right,
seemed, but
right.
because you had a strong foundation, a strong educational background, and what I'm hearing, strong modeling. Like, you
Mhm.
are the youngest of 5 children, and you saw many of your sisters and your sister's friends and your brothers
Mhm.
excelling, and you had something to look to. And that's why I actually have this show, just to remind you. I have a series of videos. This is like, I've been doing this for 4 years. So Deidre's not my first interview. So you can go back and look at tons of people talk about their path. So if you don't even have a model, I think the number one thing is to get your kid around models.
Mhm.
But if you don't have that, have them watch videos, right?
Mhm.
Um all right. So you said you went to Oakwood. You loved it there. You got great foundation. What
Mhm.
tools did you use to discipline yourself to
Um.
succeed?
Oh, sorry.
Mhm,
Um. One, I surrounded myself with like-minded people. Even though we talked about that, that was one of the most important things. And in my group of friends, I was the only one without a major. And it wasn't like I wanted to do chemistry, but I went and got scared. So I changed my mind. And then once I did take my general education classes, and then like mid first semester, I was like, man, what am I doing? Everybody around me has a major. They have study people, and I just wanted to study with them. That was part of their hangout time and stuff like that. And so when I finally sat down and I went and talked to a recruiter from a graduate school, and I was talking to her, she was like, "It seems like you want to make up your mind, but you're just not pulling pushing the button."
putting the button,
And
yeah.
right, so I went to Dr. Lahing, and he was scared of me at first, but he's really a great guy. And he was the head of the chemistry department at that time. And we had a conversation. I left the conversation, and my major was biochemistry. And by that time, most of my friends were already ahead of me. So I was behind, so to speak, and I was behind and by myself just in my major. And that time I had to like get to know myself, get to know how I'm like, this is what you liked, so do it.
Mhm,
Um, so a good family that supports you, a good well, not a good, but a relationship with Christ. Um, if I didn't understand something, I had to ask for help,
mhm.
and I had to make sure I put in the work. So when I took organic chemistry, that was like if I didn't get up and put my 2 hours in before the day started, I didn't think I was going to pass. And I understood it. I loved it, but I just didn't know how to take a test. I would help somebody else, they would pass, you know. But me, I was just like, I don't know. And I knew the material.
Yeah.
I knew it, but I just couldn't take a test. But the thing is, I knew I put that work in, so I didn't feel so bad if I failed. But those are the things I did to discipline myself. And I was watching one of your videos earlier, and I forgot there was a biochemist, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, biochemist, and like cutting out the distractions. Like he was saying, like that's a big thing. I had friends that could go party and then wake up the next day and pass a test. I couldn't do that. So
And most
guess what?
people can't.
Right. And
And
I'm
they
like,
and the
okay,
ones that say they can, they're not really passing, or they're not really partying. They're just telling you they are.
well,
They're studying, I'm sorry.
but we don't know which one.
Right.
and um And I had to decide between hanging out with friends or having a job that gave me time to study and actually studying. And I had to choose the studying because I'm like, my parents didn't send me however many miles away to, go and do nothing.
Right.
So they also want to see a return on their investment.
Right. Right.
But I had to cut out some of the social aspect, but it paid off. So
Yes, it did. And I don't know how young people get through it with all this bombardment of social media. I mean,
mm,
even you didn't have social media when you were in school, right? Like Facebook
yeah,
had probably just come out
yeah.
after you graduated.
Facebook and MySpace was like
Yeah.
MySpace was phasing out, and
Yeah.
Facebook was like boom.
Yeah. It was just coming and it's like, man, you have to cut off the distractions.
Hmm.
So what I'm hearing, you had to study, you had to
Hmm.
believe in yourself.
Hmm.
Like, so first thing you have to believe in yourself. You have to get to the point where you say, "You know what? I can do this."
Hmm.
I So get rid of fear. Yeah, and then once the fear is gone, you study it. You study it,
Hmm.
you put the work in, and you eliminate distractions. I love
Yep.
it. I love it. This is so, 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 so true. Number 3. What were your challenges in school? So you gave me a little bit. It's like you were a little behind in classes. That's another thing. Just because you're a little behind in classes, meaning you're not taking the classes at the same time as your friends, doesn't
Right.
mean you're behind. Like one of
Right.
my
Right.
friends that we went to high school with, your sister and I went to high school with, Andel Brown. He graduated with us in 1996, and then at Oakwood, he did not graduate till 2 years after we did. It didn't matter. He went to law school. He
Hmm.
graduated in 3 years after that. While I'm still in my school, graduate school, he has already started, um, becoming a lawyer, and now he's one of the greatest, shout out to Andel Brown, greatest lawyers in Miami, and he
Mm.
was so-called 2 years behind the class he started with. So, don't even
Mhm.
believe that either. But yeah, it seems like you felt a little behind. What else? What else were some challenges?
The whole test taking. I didn't know how to take tests,
Mhm.
and I like that stress and everything that comes associated with it. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't even know that's what stress was. And
Mhm.
so that was something I like. Once I realized it, I was like, oh boy, I don't even know how to handle it. But had I been more aware of it, I could have said, hey, let me go talk to a counselor and maybe learn some coping type of mechanisms, and just just different practices. And for me, it was test taking, fear, the stress, and then the confidence. Like one day my confidence would be super high, and the next day it's like, oh my goodness, no, and it's like you got to do it. You got to put in the work. If you need to practice, you need to practice. And I had Dr. Anatunga. I don't know if he's still at Oakwood right now. But the last time I went for alumni weekend, he was still there. But he was probably hands down one of the best professors in the chemistry department, and they were all good. But when it came to like making sure we knew what we were doing with like GCMS spec or any type of instrumentation, he would give us study sheets, even analytical chemistry. And I know you took that.
Mhm.
Um, but with analytical chemistry, he made sure that we had practice problems and sets and things like that. And if you failed, it wasn't on him, it was on you, because you had the tools to do it. You
Materials.
just didn't put the work in. And I kind of had that approach, and I was like, I realized halfway through the semester, no, you gotta pick it up. Like you can't let the like if you're scared, talk to him. And so he was
Mhm.
he was also my advisor, and probably the one chemistry teacher I had for most of my, I think I did about 3.5 years in that department, because once I started, I was already a sophomore when I started. So my requirements for that that program were all I had to do. So I
Mhm.
was taking a bunch of science classes at the same time. And you were talking about that same interview. Someone told you not to take two of the hard classes at the same time. And I was just like, look, I just got to do it.
You
You know,
have to do it.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, man, I'm not going to graduate with my class. And after a while, like once I came to realization, like I'm not trying to do what they're trying to do, I was like, I'm good with that. And it
Mhm.
wasn't even a whole lot of time. I finished the next semester after them. I was like, okay, big deal. You
Big
know,
deal. It really doesn't matter. It really
it doesn't
it
matter.
really doesn't matter. Doesn't.
Yeah, so it was very those were some of the things, but he once I talked to my advisor about certain things that I was struggling with in whatever class, he would talk to me. He's like, "Okay, come, let's go to the instrument. Let's, let me see where you are." And we would work through it and talk through it. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So the stuff I learned in college helped me with my graduate degree, and now they're helping me again in my actual job.
What you're saying is so pivotal. I tell my students all the time, you have to come and talk to me. Talk to the professor.
Hmm.
It's so important, especially when you're struggling. If you're having challenges, seek help. I had to tell a student this last week. He called himself, I don't know why I'm trying to do this alone or becoming a lone wolf. And I'm like, that's it.
Hmm.
Stop trying to be a lone wolf. And you know who I see this in a lot? I see this in a lot of my students of color, especially my young men, my young African American men. They're a lot of them do not seek out counsel, advice, help. They're trying to do this on their own. And I understand why. I understand why. You feel like everybody's against you. You feel like the whole world is profiling you. You feel like nobody cares about you. But I'm telling you, you have to seek out help. You have to seek advising,
Yeah.
especially in college. All right, so you were scared of tests. So what you would have done is you basically started to work hard and talk to the professor and got help and coping mechanisms of how to deal with your testing skills. And just to let you guys know, science and college in general, it's all about testing. It's a heavy testing, like um SATs. They're trying to get rid of that now, but
Hmm.
still they use SAT scores to place you in certain math classes. So
Right,
young
right.
parents of young children, please get your child used to taking standardized tests. Until they fully get rid of it, they s- they're not going to get rid of it anytime soon. So you have to do what you have to do to get your kid in the proper high level math and science classes in college. And the way
Hmm.
to do that is to prepare them. I don't know how young your daughter is, Elisa, but start teaching them how to take the SATs. You go to Khan Academy, they have free training on the ACT and SAT. That's
Right.
the first major standardized test.
Yeah.
Get her used to doing that so that when she gets to high school, or if she's in high school, she does well on that test. Because if you do well on that test, you get to go into high level math class. And once you get into high level math classes, you'll be allowed to go take higher level science classes quicker. And the quicker you take those science classes all at the same time, that's a thing. Like, don't let anybody, like, it's gonna be challenging, but don't don't be afraid. Don't be
Hmm.
afraid. So let me ask you a question. My next question is, tell me what you do as much as you can, like how much as much information you can tell us. Tell us what you actually do now, and tell me the challenges that you may have.
So, what I actually do now, I don't know if you can see my shirt, but I love this shirt. It's Kim. Sorry, wrong way. It's a periodic table, but I went to New Orleans and I saw this.
That's
So,
nice.
look,
I love it.
I'm just saying, chemistry is something great, and it's really good. It's really good. Okay. Anyway,
She
so
loves chemistry. She a smart African American woman is in love with chemistry. Yay! Okay, go ahead.
yay. So I am a forensic scientist, and that is very broad in general because that's just what the profession is. I'm in the field of forensic science. More specifically, I am a forensic drug chemist or a forensic chemist or what they call it sometimes I forgot. They call us a bunch of different titles. But I'm a forensic chemist basically, and I strictly only deal with or handle controlled substances. So that would be an item. that is seized from a crime scene or a drug bust, and that is suspected to contain a controlled substance. And a controlled substance is something that is controlled or regulated by the federal government. And there are five schedules. One being the least medically accepted. So the most dangerous. One is the most dangerous. So things like heroin and marijuana. Sorry, I will leave that alone. But those laws are changing, and that's actually a challenge in our field right now.
Mm.
But like marijuana, LSD, THC, which is a part of marijuana, but once extracted, it's something different. And then you have like your Schedule 2 substances like cocaine and fentanyl and methadone, and those are um, used in medical practices. Cocaine, not so much, but the way the cocaine is made now, it's very illegal. Um, it used to be historically it was a topical anesthetic that they used to use in surgeries, and um, like fentanyl is used for pain management. It's a synthetic opioid, and it's always hard because then you also have the oxycodones and the hydrocodones and those things of the opiate or the opioid family, and those are still medically accepted. They are used for pain medication when prescribed by a doctor. Anything outside of that, it's illegal. Then you have your Schedule 3 substances with buprenorphine, which being one of them, and like ketamine. But buprenorphine, you see that a lot with this whole opioid crisis. Buprenorphine is used to counteract that, but people get addicted to the buprenorphine. So
Oh.
those are like the top three schedules that we usually deal with. 4 and 5 are like codeine and like cough syrup, Xanax, those benzodiazepine, those things like that. Um, so that's what I do. I deal with most of those substances. I love it. A lot of people think drug chemistry is very routine and mundane, and I'm like, okay, fine, but to me, every substance is different. I had a picture of this one. It was like a block of like black stuff, and it was in a heart shape. It was a block of heroin, and I just thought it was so pretty. Now, yes, it's bad, but the way it was presented was just so pretty.
Right. I know what
but
you're talking about. It's like
so
cancer. It's like, oh my God, this cancer is the way it's growing. It's amazing, but it's evil. It hurts people,
right,
but the
right.
science behind it is beautiful. I totally get what you're
It's the
saying.
science behind it. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
role is to look at the evidence and to describe it and to base it and to perform a presumptive test, which is a type of screening test. And I can do a color test if it turns a certain color. So if it turns purple, if I use a reagent or a liquid chemical and it turns purple, it's I can tell that an opiate is present. I don't know which one though. Or if it turns orange brown, I know that some type of amphetamine type substance is there, but I just can't say which one because I did not confirm it. So now I use an instrument called the gas chromat gas chromatograph mass spectrometer,
Mhm.
which I will abbreviate as GCMS. This is how I have to participate in pre-trials. And I can use that or something called IR, and it's basically separation and identification science with those instruments on the other part of that. And from that, I generate a report, I sign it, and I have to testify to these things as well in court. I've only testified once as an expert witness
Okay,
in
wow.
court. I know I lost my voice, but it was cool. um, but that's what I do. That's like the glamour that you see on TV. It's not what it is in real life, but with hard work and determination, you can appreciate it. You can really appreciate it. After I finish with the evidence, I return it, to whoever it needs to go to, and that's my involvement. That's my only involvement with the case.
Wow, so let
So
me ask you a
that's
question.
what
So
I do.
you work for a government institution that
Yes.
whenever they seize any type of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
you have to they
Suspected.
use suspected, suspected. That's
Right.
right, suspected. You as a scientist have to do experimentation.
I
You're
do. The
doing the
scientific
test.
method. Yes.
You who are afraid of tests are
Yep.
testing things all the time.
Yep. Yep.
You're trying to see if what they suspect is the case, and you, based on
Mhm.
your own personal history of experience in both college as a chemistry, biochemistry major, and your master's degree as a forensic science major, you learned a lot of you learned how to do a lot of experiments on
Right.
high level technologically equipment.
Right. And
Wow.
that's not
You got
even that's
training, you got heavy training
yes.
on that equipment. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. In grad school, they kind of showed us how to use it, but I was always like, I don't want to break it. So I didn't really jump at those opportunities. So
Mm,
now I worked in New Mexico for 3 years for the state forensic lab in New Mexico. And I love my job. I love my team there. Like they were great. I moved to Houston, so I'm at a different agency now. And one of the hardest things about like that job was that was my first actual full-time job in the field I wanted, in the section that I wanted. So I was putting pressure on myself.
mm.
And when it was time to get feedback on my cases about my report writing, and this is another reason why I didn't like those other majors. Chemistry reports are just chemistry reports. Introduction, data, that's it. Conclusion, okay, it was this, that's it. They had so much feedback, it tore me to shreds. I wanted
Wow.
to cry. I wanted to quit. Now, mind you, I wanted to quit after I got signed off. It took me about 10 months of training. So when you do get hired to these jobs, they will provide you with training. And, hopefully you're one of those people that are just like, okay, I'm going to get this. I got this. I'm gonna do this, you know. And so I did. That hurt so bad. We have to review each other's work, and we call that peer review. They had to review my work, and this was my first experience.
And they
So to
ripped to
me,
shreds.
they ripped it to shreds. To me, that's all I had.
Mhm.
So it took a while to, just get just get used to it. It's like, okay, it's not you. This is a professional thing. Leave it at work. You have to learn how to write this way because science is a different writing. I'm pretty sure when you wrote your PhD, you couldn't write it like a regular paper. You have to do, certain things. So,
And you had
and
people to train you on it.
right, right. And so these reports that I write, I sign, are being used in court. So they have to meet a certain standard. So
Mhm.
I put all my stuff together. So another analyst reviews it technically to make sure all my technical data is done properly. I didn't miss a step here or there, and then it's reviewed administratively, making sure the page numbers are there, and then making sure my case numbers are correct. Just those, dates, times, things. But you have two other scientists looking at your work, and I do a technical review if I have to do an administrative review. Because if you see something, you would want to know before that report goes out, because that's being used to possibly convict somebody for something they did or did not do. And we have to stay impartial. But that was the hardest part. And once I started to learn, okay, hey, they're not attacking you. It's not you. It's just this work, and it's okay because you are training, you are learning. And it got to the point where I was scared of these big cases. And my previous supervisor, she saw that, I kind of struggled. She's like, no, I'm going to keep you down to one item cases. Like, I want to make sure I see you progress because I want to beef you up here. And she's like, I see the good in you. I know that you want to do it, but I need to make sure that you can do it. So you stay here. Then one day she was like, oh, you can do this case. And I said, okay. Now I started working, one item cases and then started working big cases. And it was just the writing and the wording. And it got to the point where another young lady, she came in just recently, probably since May, she got signed off and she started writing like me for my report writing.
Mm.
And my supervisor's like, that's a huge deal because I was the only level one in my section, and it felt like people were ripping me to shreds and ripping me to shreds, but that was just beefing me up to be something better.
Better.
And for a level two to write like a level one, that's
That's
you know what I'm
awesome.
saying?
That means you learned. So, and it's the same. When I interview people all the time, I get similar stories throughout, their life, and it seems like you always had a fear.
Mm-hmm.
You always felt like you not sure if you were ready for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
it just moved from all the way up. And then you had to really say, no, you have to fight yourself. I am ready for it. I
Right.
don't need to be afraid. And then other people helped in help boost you up. You sought after great supervisors, great
Right.
mentors. Yeah.
Right. And I told her, and I told her, and we had a conversation when I was leaving that job, and I told her, I was like, no, you're my boss, you're my supervisor. Like, she was my role model, because I'm like, if she like, I just saw the way she did her job, and sometimes I thought she did too much, but at the end of the day, it's you signing your name to that report, and you have to know that you did everything you needed to do according to these policies and procedures set forth by the state of New Mexico, or whatever. You have to make sure you did what you were supposed to do. You did it the
Absolutely.
right way. Like, it's you.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge is me, like, getting over me. Me,
Getting
look at
over
me.
me.
So, like, that's the biggest challenge. And it's something that I constantly have to do every day. Like, in this job I am in now, some of the instrumentation that we did use in my previous job we're still using, but now I have to relearn two techniques that I learned at Oakwood. And I
Mm,
have the basis down, and I don't know why I remember it, but I just loved it. So I just was like, oh yeah, NMR does this.
mhm,
So I'm calling out a lot of three-letter acronyms, because these are all instruments that we're going to use. And when I tell you just how these instruments can identify something, you can do a liquid separation, you can do a gas, like, it's just a lot of separation. Or just look at how the protons behave in a compound, or how light affects a compound. And that's probably the best part of science. Like, looking at the sun, and you know how you see the rainbow, looking at the electromagnetic spectrum. Like, it's just amazing, the light
mhm,
that we can see, what's reflected, what's absorbed, what's transmitted, and you get color.
mhm.
So I pretty much think, like, that's probably the best part. There are other areas of forensic science: toxicology, DNA, serology, firearms, latent prints. To be in the field of forensic biology or forensic drug chemistry, you need a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And you need a certain amount of science credits for those classes. You do need your statistics class. Um, you do need the math as well. But if your daughter, I don't know how old she is, but there is an association called the American Academy of Forensic Scientists. If she's in high school, they have
A
they have
junior
like high school programs
junior
where they
division.
can, do a CSI camp. And I would suggest it, because CSI stands for crime scene investigation. There are two areas in forensic science, and there's criminalistics. There's the uh, criminal justice part, and then there's the science part. So the people that investigate, like the CSI investigators or the medical legal death investigators, those people are more so dealing with the physical evidence and how it relates to a particular incident, and mapping out the timeline. What
Timeline.
I do on my side is taking what they get and just saying, okay, this is, or this is not.
Not opioid.
Right. Right. I don't say opioid, but yes.
Yeah,
And
the
that's
scientific word for the hardcore chemistry word for opiate.
and
Yeah.
the one thing to remember about this field is, like, we are, like, I am here to do a job, but I'm also, part of my job is saying that something is there or something is not there.
Mhm,
So I'm not one of those people, oh, it's white powder, that's flour. Or, I mean, it could be flour, it could be cocaine, you don't know.
mhm,
But that's my, if we actually have to do more work to prove that it's not what it is,
mhm.
than to prove what it is.
That's
So
right.
when I get something that's just looking weird, and I do a bunch of tests, and you get 100-page document, you're gonna know I did, and that's just data, not the
Every
report. You're gonna
mhm,
know I did absolutely everything within my power where I work
Mhm.
to say that, to call this is not what you think it is. Two other scientists, agreed with me,
Mhm.
and that's how the report can be finalized. But there are other areas of it. If your daughter can volunteer or work at a police department, that might be good, because that title in itself takes you places. My internship,
Volunteer.
um, my internship started, cracking open the door a little wider for me, and it's gonna be tough, but it's worth it. I think I did about 12 or 13 job interviews before I got my job in New Mexico, and I thank God for that, because that's the one interview I didn't have to travel for, and it was just it was just good. And they were looking for, I didn't know this at the time, but they were looking for someone who just graduated. So sometimes jobs are looking for just recent
New.
graduates. Right. And also the federal government, if you look on USA Jobs, they have recent graduates. So a lot of the times, like I have a colleague, she started at the place where I work now straight from grad school. So if they know they're hiring you and they have to train you, they're going to train you well, or to
Mhm.
the best of their ability, and the rest is up to you.
And they want you
How
to stay. That's why they're more likely to hire new students, because they're
right,
more likely to stay than somebody with a higher education and get the experience and then just quickly leave. And they spend all this
right,
time training. So
right.
so consider that. As we segue,
And
I want you to tell me what you like the most about your career. So continue going on,
oh,
but tell me what you
and
like most about it.
analyzing the suspected controlled substances.
Yeah, it sounds like you do. You love it.
um,
Like, to
I
tell me
wish
what
I
it
could.
is or what it is
I
not.
wish I had these. I wish I had a picture up, but this one case, I'm gonna use this bottle of soda as an example. I had one case where, say, sorry, there are two bottles of these wrapped together with like not bubble wrap, but with saran wrap, and then they were each individually wrapped in like plastic and shrink wrap and all that stuff, and they had all this white crystalline material. So I had 10 of these, and it was at least like 10, 11, I don't know how many pounds, but it was more than 10 pounds. And that was probably one of my favorite cases. And it's just like sometimes I had to challenge myself.
Mm,
So my favorite part was, yeah, sometimes I needed, a little break. So I would be like, okay, I'm gonna do an easy case today. Then sometimes it's like, no, do this. Cause you want to do this. Like for some reason you want to do this. And I would just get some big cases and just knock them out. And if I needed help, hey boss, I need help with something. How do I describe this? I want to say this. How should I put it? And she's like, okay, come here. So we had that relationship now where if I had a challenge, I started to challenge myself, but then she knew when I couldn't do anymore, and she would help me. And she'd be like, there you go, you got
got
it.
it.
She was very encouraging. Um,
Yeah.
but definitely for science, learn how you study, know how to study, because in college you might study one way, in grad school you might study a different way.
Mhm.
And in grad school I've realized how I actually should have been studying my entire life.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, wow. And in undergrad I had to look at the material from the beginning of the semester, but in grad school I couldn't look at the material maybe a day or two before the exam, and I sat down and just wrote everything out. And come test time, what I do, just wrote everything out again, and that was it. So
Ready.
yeah, but it's definitely a great field to get into. You can do so much. There's also forensic toxicology. There are forensic files on Amazon, and if they're really interested, that's getting into like nitty gritty like crime things. But if you're interested in the science, start talking to colleges, look at the programs out there. Pace has a program. A lot of because of CSI, a lot of people wanted to be forensic scientists, and they call that the CSI effect. And
Mm,
the thing is, a lot of people didn't know that, they had the hard part the hard part was understanding TV is not reality. So some people didn't want to put the work in, but if you really want to do it, put the work in.
mhm,
Once you get in, you can do whatever you want to do. My next goal is to be certified in controlled substance analysis, and that will open up the doors even more. you
yeah.
know, but I love what I do. I'm not changing a thing. I'm glad I had to go through all that. I wanted to go to med school, PhD. I didn't want to do none of that. That wasn't me. And that's the other thing. When you surround yourself with successful people, you don't always have to take on their dreams or their goals. You
Yeah.
know, you have your own. And it was good that I had friends going to dental school, going to med school, going to grad school, going to farm, like everywhere.
Mhm.
Nobody's a forensic scientist. Nobody.
Just you.
No, but I'm saying in my group,
Yeah.
and it's not. I know we were talking about this when you asked me to do this. There are not a lot of African American forensic scientists out there. When I started back in 2018, they hired two Black people. I worked in the Santa Fe lab, and another one, he worked in the Hobbs, New Mexico lab, and he's Floridian and he's Jamaican too, Maya. So there you go.
Hey, hey.
But we were the only two in the system, and I don't know for how long or if ever. And then
Wow.
when I left New Mexico in January, and in May of 2021, we hired another young African American female too. And she said to me, she's like, it's good to see you. And I was
Mhm.
like, what you mean? And then once I saw, I was like, she didn't have to say anything else, but I was like, I told her, I was like, as long as I'm here, we're gonna stick together. And she asked me if I had experienced any problems. I hadn't really experienced any problems, but there was, and I told her she'd be fine. And there was another secretary in a different part of the building, and she had been with this agency for like 30 whatever years. And she told me right before I left, she was like, in the 30 plus years that she's been here, I'm the only African American she's seen in that lab.
Wow.
And African American, female, science, all of this stuff. So I will say, know that you are good enough and you can compete. you know, you are a competition with yourself. So forget about everybody else. You're trying to get over you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's an amazing field. I love my job. I love science.
And we need more of you. Come on in.
And
Come on in.
please, please do get involved. Even if you just need to go to grad school, it's hard to get an internship, I know, but keep searching. It's hard. Keep searching. Just be determined, and you will not regret it for a day. And I mean, I can't believe I'm an adult right now, but it's like,
Me neither.
but
Me
it's
neither.
it's a really good field, and once you get to a certain level, it pays well. So yes, you do see a return on your investment and your hard work, and now you just have to deal with lawyers. So,
Oh my
you
goodness. This
know,
has been an amazing,
yeah,
amazing, and amazing, amazing interview. You have really gave me a great I think everybody knows what it takes to be at least a forensic chemist in the drug industry, and
mm,
and I think it's so doable.
yes,
It's
it
it's
is.
so doable, and you have a guide in Miss Caleb here. She did not have, and I think that's probably why it took different things and different fears and stuff like that. But people coming behind you will get through much faster than you did because you
Yeah,
have encouraged them.
yeah, yeah. And there are a lot more programs out there now. I didn't
Yeah.
think I had that many resources, but it was hard, and it wasn't, hey, I want to grow up to be a forensic scientist. It was, I want to be like them, you know.
Mhm.
And I eventually found my way back
Mhm.
to forensic science, and I have goosebumps right now. I just love it.
Hey, she loves what she does. Listen, this has been
I
a great
really do. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I wouldn't.
well, thank you so much for coming on with me, Deidre Caleb. I love saying your name.
So
Miss
weird.
Caleb, thank you so much for being coming on with me, and my mother is applauding you and all of you who
Yay.
are
Thanks,
watching.
Mom.
Thank you. I am the phenomenal STEMist, and so is she. I Goodbye,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye.